Hi guys, today I want to talk about chronic fatigue syndrome crashing and what we need to do about it. And I'm going to discuss a plan of action. First of all, let's talk a bit about crashing. So chronic fatigue syndrome is never constant. We don't feel the same level of severity all the time. Some days are worse than others. When you're at your worst, your best day is still pretty bad, but we do go up and down. So when your chronic fatigue syndrome is of a very high severity, it will still fluctuate. So you'll get better days and you'll get really, really bad days. And if you're mild to moderate, if your symptoms are mild to moderate, then you'll have days that are kind of okay, and you'll have really bad and severe days. So crashing is when you've gone on a sort of slightly better level and you feel that you can do things a bit more and it's not too bad, and then suddenly you wake up one morning and it's like, oh no, it's the worst feeling when you know that today is a really bad day and your system seems to have just completely crashed. You can't always tell why. You don't think you've overdone it. You may even have slept quite well, and sometimes it's really difficult to know why. So we're not going to look at the whys, we're going to look at what to do about it. So it's that sudden sort of nosedive of when your symptoms suddenly just get a lot worse, and it really is soul destroying. It's a horrible feeling, and even when you have started to recover in a general way, and you're sort of making progress, and your better days are better than they used to be. As you do start to recover generally, you will still get those crashes and setbacks. The recovery from chronic fatigue syndrome is never a straight line. It's always going to have the occasional crashes and setbacks. Sometimes this can almost feel like you've gone back to square one, which is really soul destroying and difficult to deal with. So I want to look at a plan of action for those days, and you might want to do a bit of forward planning for this, because we know that you can recover from chronic fatigue, but we also know that during that recovery you are going to have the occasional crashes and setbacks. So it's a good idea to put in some forward planning and maybe have some support plans in place. So talk to people at work, talk to the people who, your boss, the people who manage the staff, and let them know. Maybe you might need to talk to your doctor and get a doctor's note, so that, if you are in employment, so that your employers have that, so that they understand that you may need the occasional day off. Also, talk to people that you trust and know who support you, to see if on days when you are not feeling your best, whether they can come and do things for you. Really good idea to just have those things in place, and so that you've got people there, you've got plans in place, so that you can take a day off if necessary, and there hopefully are people who could pop in and do a few things for you. So a little bit of forward planning is a really good idea. So first of all, here's my plan of action for when you wake up and you know that your body has crashed. First of all, don't despair. I know it's really difficult, because when we have days like that, of course the depression, which is one of the symptoms really sets in, and it's very, very difficult to think in any positive way. But do tell yourself this is temporary. It will get better. I do know how it feels when you wake up that morning and you know that you're going to struggle through the day. It's really, really nasty. But if we have this plan of action in place, then it's going to make life a little bit easier for you. And allow yourself to feel whatever you feel. At that moment when you realise that you've crashed and the day might be a little bit more difficult than what you had planned. Allow yourself to feel that frustration, depression. If it makes you want to cry, then cry. It's really important that you don't deny your feelings around this. People say a lot about positive thinking, but positive thinking can lead to a denial of feelings, and that's really not a good idea, because when you deny your feelings, you're actually fighting against them, and that's actually even more exhausting. So we don't want to do that. However, Tilly's just chasing a fly, but we don't want to get so much into our feelings that we begin to identify with them and then start to wallow in them. So allow yourself those feelings and then allow them to drift away. We need to move forward. Allow those for a while, and then remember that today, when you have a day of crashing, today is a day for looking after yourself. Today, you are number one. So this is where you might want to call in your support system. If you've done your forward planning and you've got some support system in place, you might want to call a friend or family member and see if they can come in and do anything for you that needs doing. I don't know, walk the dog, make some meals, whatever they can do, whatever fits with your lifestyle. Obviously that needs to fit in with whatever you can do. And if you are employed, then maybe this is one of those days that you can call in sick. And if you're self-employed, I know that's a lot more difficult actually, because when you're self-employed, you don't get sick pay. So it's very difficult to take time off. But, the more you look after yourself, the quicker you're actually going to be able to recover and get back to work. If you're struggling, if you try and push yourself through several days when you're crashing, your work is going to be less effective and you'll probably get less done in the long run anyway. So it's really important, if you need to, you take a day off, at least a day off. So cancel anything that you don't need to do. Sorry about the sounds in the background, it's Tilly chasing flies. Do not do any exercise. So if you have a regular exercise plan, then cancel that for the moment. So next, once you've got all those things in place, you've cancelled a few things, you've called in your support, you've taken a day off, the next thing is to organise some serious pampering. So schedule in some deep relaxation. If you don't know how to do deep relaxation or something like yoga nidra, then look these things up. There's plenty here on YouTube or other social media. Try and get in a few of these sessions over the course of the day. And I would suggest generally that doing deep relaxation is probably better than trying to sleep, because if you get too much into the habit of trying to sleep during the day, that's going to affect your ability to sleep at night. So generally don't try to sleep, but if you really do need to sleep, then do have a nap for a while, sometimes that can really help. But generally, I would recommend not trying to sleep during the day, but do deep relaxation, breathing exercises, yoga nidra, visualization exercises, and things like that throughout the day. Do not feel guilty. I know this is one of those really common things with chronic fatigue syndrome, is when we're unable to do things, or when we cancel things and we stop doing the things we normally do. This horrendous feeling of guilt. But we have to realise that we are taking the day off because we're sick. If you had flu, you would have to take the day off. You'd have to take several days off. Why is it different? It's not different. Chronic fatigue syndrome is a real thing. It's a real physical thing. And when you are sick, you need to take the day off and look after yourself. So just remind yourself that this is what you need to do for your health in order to recover. Because if you don't, if you try to push through as if you were not ill, you will not then recover from this crash, or you'll recover really, really slowly, and it'll affect your general ability to recover. So please do not feel guilty. Remember that this is an illness and you need to take time off when you need it. Throughout the day, do try to eat healthily. So lots of fruit and vegetables, always have some protein, and low GI carbohydrates, that's non-refined carbohydrates, and drink lots of water, and herbal teas are generally a good idea. Things like peppermint tea is very good, and chamomile tea, ginger tea, and if there's nobody to cook for you, then again, this is in your forward planning. Make sure you've got things in that are really easy to cook. So it's, have a few things in the freezer, some healthy things. Be really, really careful with ready meals. A lot of them have lots of stuff in them you really don't want, high in sugar and salt. So make sure you've got healthy things in that you can cook really easily when you need to. And then when you're having your day off, if you want to watch things on television, choose light stuff, uplifting stuff. So lovely uplifting or comedy films and programs, or watch things like philosophical or spiritual talks on the internet. And there's plenty here on YouTube. I know I read a lot of and I watch a lot of Eckhart Tolle, but you can find lots of other people that will help you to improve your mental well-being, and that's really important. And I would suggest going to bed early on a day when you have crashed, not too early, because again, it's really important to have a sleep routine to help your sleep generally. I would suggest going to bed early on a crashing day, but not so early that it's going to kind of really affect your routine. Listen to soothing music or listen to sleep stories to help you sleep at night. Now, the next day, you hopefully will, from having taken a day off, hopefully you will feel a bit better. But be very, very careful, because it's very easy when you feel a little better. It's so easy to then rush off and try and do all the things that you couldn't do yesterday, and then you actually end up crashing again. So it's very careful that you continue to look after yourself the next day. Don't immediately go back and do lots of exercise. Stay off the exercise for a few days after a crash. If you do go back to work, try and ease back in very, very gently. Just do the things that are necessary. Ease back very, very carefully and gently. And when you do start exercising again, only do that when you feel absolutely ready to exercise. And don't start back off at the level you were at when you crashed. Go back to a lower level and then build up again slowly. So that is my action plan for crashing in chronic fatigue syndrome. If you follow that plan, then your recovery times from crashing will be a lot quicker than if you try to struggle through the day and do all the things that you would normally do. Really important that when you have a crash, treat it as an illness and look after yourself. So that is my sermon for the day. Please subscribe, because this helps get the channel out to other people. And I will look forward to seeing you again in the next video. Bye for now.